It is Joe Rogan. Sam Harris. Oh, that's beautiful. I was just Breakfast Club. Love it. This is how people get their information nowadays. H3?
Twitch. Yeah.
Twitch?
Yeah.
Email, that works too. I was just texting with Sam Harris just now, for those of you who are Sam Harris fans, and I ought to give so much credit to Sam for seeing this campaign from its earliest days. Really, this campaign has been a campaign of the people, by the people. We raised $10 million last quarter in increments of only $30 each. So my fans are almost as cheap as Bernie's.
Yeah!
And what drove you here today, I get the sense, it sounds like it wasn't TV commercials. It certainly wasn't the corporate media, right? No. It wasn't the corporate media being like, hey, like this guy. It was your friends, family, people you trust. In some cases, those people are big-time podcasters. That's how this campaign has grown. That's how I stand before you just, what was it? Oh, look at this, it's overflowing. We gotta let some more people in.
What's the fire code in here?
Yeah, what is the fire code in here? We're that -1. Always, like magic. But thanks to people just like you, I'm one of the 7 candidates that qualified for the debate stage next week. Yeah, that was a huge achievement. I will be the lone person of color on that stage.
Yeah! Way to small time!
Thank you.
It's true.
And the question is, how did the anonymous Asian man no one's ever heard of outperform half a dozen sitting senators, governors, congresspeople to get up on that debate stage? And the way that happened was that I have a sense of the real problems that got Donald Trump elected in the first place.
Yes.
If you live here in Iowa, first you live in a very magical place. Do you know how many Californians each Iowan is worth?
1,000.
1,000 each. That's right. So you look around this room, there may be 100 of us here. That's like 2.5 football stadiums full of Californians. That is the power in this room right now. That is why the presidential candidates come to you all. That's why I'm here, because you all control the future of the country. It doesn't feel like it. You're just a student, living your life. You're going to work every day, but you all have the power to change the future of this country.
Yeah.
The question is, how did Donald Trump win Iowa by 8 points? How did Donald Trump win at all in 2016? If you turn on cable news, why would you think Donald Trump's our president today?
Russia.
Hillary Clinton.
Russia. Hillary Clinton. Racism. Facebook. The FBI. Emails, all mashed together, right? That's the general explanation. But I have a feeling that you all know different. The reason why Donald Trump won Iowa by 8 points is largely because we blasted away 40,000 manufacturing jobs that used to be in this state. And when those manufacturing jobs left, the shopping district also closed, and that town never recovered. I've been to those towns. It was not just here in Iowa. We blasted away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Missouri, as well as here. And if that list of states sounds familiar, those are all the swing states that Donald Trump needed to win and did win. And now that we did a number on those 4 million manufacturing jobs, we are now shifting to retail, call centers, fast food, and eventually truck driving. How many of you have noticed stores closing where you live here in Iowa? And why are those stores closing? Amazon, one word answer. Amazon soaking up $20 billion in business every single year. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year?
0!
That is your math, Iowa. 20 billion out, 0 back. 30% of your stores and malls closed. Most common job in Iowa is retail clerk. Average retail clerk's a 39-year-old woman making between $9 and $10 an hour. When her store closes, what is her next move going to be?
Cry. Desperation.
That's a first move.
When you call the customer service line of a big company and you get the bot or software, I'm sure you do the exact same thing I do, which is you dial 000, say human, until you get someone on the line, right? In 2 or 3 short years, though, the software is going to sound like this. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? What can I do to help you? It's going to be fast, seamless, delightful. What's that going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work in call centers right now making $14 an hour? How many of you have noticed self-serve kiosks in a fast food restaurant here in Iowa? They're going to be in every McDonald's in the next 2 years. They start at the front of the house, and they're going to move to the back of the house with the robot burger flippers and fry cookers. The real rubber hits the road when we get to the robot trucks. Now, I've been to Iowa 80 in Davenport. How many of you have been there? And I'm sure after you go there, you go for the buffet because it's a really good value. It's a great variety. They say 5,000 people stop at Iowa 80 every day. What happens when the robot trucks don't need to stop anymore? Iowans know this better than most anyone because it started on your farms, then it moved to your factories, now it's on your main streets. You have to stop it before it gets to your highways. You have to see to it that the Amazons of our country aren't paying zero, but instead are paying their fair share. Yes. And after we get our fair share from the Amazons of the world, what are we going to do with it? If you were here today, at some point you heard this. There's an Asian guy running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. Woo! And the first time you heard that, you were like, wow, that sounds literally too good to be true. But this is not my idea, and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country, called it the citizen's dividend. Martin Luther King was fighting for it in the 60s when he was assassinated, called it the guaranteed minimum income. And I had the privilege of sitting with Martin Luther King's son, Martin Luther King III, in Atlanta after the last debate. And he said, this is Dad's vision, and this is what he was fighting for. It was so mainstream that 1,000 economists endorsed it in the 60s, and it passed the U.S. House of Representatives twice in 1971 under Richard Nixon. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that?
Alaska!
And how do they pay for it?
Oil!
And what is the oil of the 21st century?
Technology!
Technology, data, AI, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. How many of you saw that? How many of you have access to a Netflix password? There's a documentary called The Great Hack, and it has that study in there. How many of you got your data check in the mail last month? No. Where did the data checks go?
Amazon,
Facebook, Google, the trillion-dollar tech companies that are paying zero or near zero in taxes. Do you see the game?
Yes. Yeah.
And the wild thing is that only you can rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy to work for us. That is the magic of this place. That's why I love campaigning in Iowa. That's why I've been here 23 times. That's why my wife's on a plane to join us here, because this is where the future of the country will be determined. That's right. Woo. It's awesome. The rest of the country, they look up and they see our government pipes clogged full of money, lobbyist cash, and they despair. They say there is nothing they can do to change it. Americans are smart. They are generally right. There is just about nothing they can do to change it. But you can, and only you can. That is the power, that is the magic. We have to create a new way forward for the rest of our country and move us in the right direction as quickly as possible. One of the reasons why things are going so wrong is that we're measuring our progress in the wrong ways. You see the headlines, and what do they say? Record low unemployment, record high corporate profits. Somehow, if things aren't going well for you and your family, it must just be you. Also at record highs in the United States of America right now: stress, anxiety, depression, mental illness, suicides, student loan debt, drug overdoses. It's gotten so bad that our life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years in a row because drug overdoses and suicides have overtaken vehicle deaths for the first time in American history. You know the last time our life expectancy declined 3 years in a row?
Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu of 1918, a global pandemic that killed millions. You have to go back a century to find another time when America's life expectancy declined 3 times in a row. It is not normal in a developed country for your life expectancy to ever decline. It ordinarily just goes up like this. So when it starts going down, you're like, okay, that's strange. And then twice is shocking. 3 is almost unprecedented. Do you want to bet where it's going to go on year number 4? These are the real problems, and we're measuring them all wrong. Even Donald Trump, the candidate, when he was running, he said this unemployment rate is bunk. You remember him saying this? Yeah. He was like, they don't talk about the fact that millions of Americans have left the workforce. And then he became president, all of a sudden the numbers became real. He was right the first time as the candidate. The headline unemployment rate is bunk. It doesn't count the fact that millions have dropped out of the workforce. It doesn't count the fact that the majority of new jobs are temp gig or contract jobs that don't have benefits. It doesn't include the fact that 40 to 44% of recent college grads, I sense that there are some young people here. How many of you are college students right now?